Welcome to Candidate Profiles, brought to you by Millis Community Media. I'm Peter Themistocles. I'm a member of the Millis Community Media Board of Directors, and I'm happy to host these profiles. Our Candidate Profiles series is designed to help you, the Millis voters, become better acquainted with the candidates in this May's local election. All the candidates, opposed or unopposed, were invited to our studios for 15 minutes to answer questions submitted by Millis residents. I will ask the questions on behalf of the residents and will allow approximately 1.5 minutes for each answer before moving on to the next question. Each candidate will have 1 minute at the beginning and at the end for opening and closing statements. Now, joining me now is Josh Guerrero, a candidate running for the Planning Board. Hi, Josh, and thanks for coming in.
Thank you so much.
Please take it away with your opening statement.
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me here. As stated, my name is Josh Guerrero. I'm running for the open seat with the Planning Board. A little background, my wife and I moved here approximately 4.5 years ago. We actually live very close to Town Hall, so this is very convenient for us. We have 2 little boys, and since coming to the town, we've really embraced the community and the atmosphere. We love the direction it's headed in. We love the new elementary school. There's a lot to be excited about in terms of Millis. I went to law school in Michigan and came to Massachusetts directly, passed the bar, and have been practicing for a little over 4 years, and I work in real estate. I came to a planning board meeting when we first moved here and really just wanted to get involved in my community. I have some land use and zoning background along with residential and commercial conveyancing work. And so I really just wanted to come in and see what was going on, and there was an open position for the associate member. And I decided to join the board. And now that one of our members, George, has decided to step down, I'd love to take a permanent role in being a member of the Planning Board.
Terrific, and that leads me right into the first question that's been submitted. You're currently serving as an associate member of the Planning Board. In that position, what do you see as the top priority or challenge for this board?
I would have to say it would be updating our master plan, something that we've talked about, making sure that as the town begins to change, and certainly you're beginning to feel and see that change rapidly growing, making sure that we adapt and revise not only our master plan, but our subdivision control guidelines that we have, as well as making the necessary amendments to our zoning bylaws to make sure that we have the infrastructure in place to accommodate our growing town while also maintaining the aesthetic that we all love and enjoy.
So the second half, perhaps, of that question, and if we can just continue this conversation, this piece, updating the master plan, adapt and revise the plan. How would you like to see that get addressed? How do you get traction on that?
Yeah. So one member of the Planning Board, and it would probably be one of the junior members, just getting started, would meet with different committee members to get together, members of the zoning board, the building committee, all sorts of different committees. We come together and then we try to just do a little bit of due diligence work and address some of the areas that need to be updated. So some of the parts of the zoning map that might need to be adjusted or changed based on how the town has grown over the last 20 years, which is when the last zoning map was really looked at, the master plan was amended and adjusted. So we would meet together as a committee and start doing some due diligence, looking at the surrounding area and the way that we've grown and changed, and then try to adapt the plan in accordance with those changes. So that's how you get started.
What do you think is the best way for Millis to attain the 10% affordable housing goal?
This is going to be a big issue, and I know it's been a problem for Millis for quite some time, and not just Millis, but surrounding suburban areas as well. We are an MBTA community, so recently what that means, I'll just explain briefly, is that we have certain regulations that are governed by the MBTA since we're adjacent to a town that has a commuter rail, which would be Norfolk.
Right.
So there are initiatives in place that we're talking about now with the Finance Committee in terms of having what's called mixed use by right residential housing. That would help facilitate some of the 10% threshold in terms of meeting 40B and your affordable housing initiative. Okay. So that's certainly one track that we're taking. You really have to also identify the areas where it's feasible. This is a very residential heavy town. So since it's a village setting, you have to be able to locate and this goes back to my point about zoning, right, and changing your master plan, making sure that you update and look at the areas where it's feasible to be able to have developers come in, build, have some mixed use, and not just mixed use, but multifamily units where you have affordable units available for people.
How important is transparency to you? What will you do to keep Millis residents in the loop on planning board activity and hearings and decisions?
So transparency, I believe, is exceedingly critical, especially in local municipalities. I think a lot of people underestimate the ability of their local committees to affect change in their town. Some of them may not understand exactly what the role of any of these committees or boards is. So I would always welcome anybody to come to any one of our meetings. We have to, by law, publish notices publicly so that people are aware of what's going on, abutters, where areas are affected, obviously given notice of certain items, but transparency is key. I would, heavily encourage any opportunity for us, and we work well with Camille Stanley in our office, who's wonderful, in publishing any notices, decisions, meeting minutes, anything that's accessible via our government webpage. And if anybody has any questions, they can always set up informal meetings with the planning board members, or even if they just wanted to connect with me personally, I would be more than happy to talk to anybody about any questions they have with what we're doing in the town.
Terrific, thank you. And indeed, I agree that there is an underestimation of the impact of planning board and all the boards in town, actually, and sort of there's perhaps the unexpected result of large turnout and large profile elections that have, of course, an impact on our lives, but it's these sort of off-year elections as well that might even have a greater impact on our day-to-day lives. Very interesting, good observation, thank you. And finally, there's one last question for you today, and what is the one thing or the one skill that people should know about you that qualifies you for this position?
So thank you for the question. I mentioned it briefly in my opening statement. I've been a practicing lawyer for a little over 4 years with a background heavy in residential commercial development. We assist developers, buyers, and sellers in developments of condos, single-family, multifamily properties. And I also, prior to joining my firm, worked with a Chicago-based developer on some development that was going on in Michigan. So we got some really good experience for a little over a year just working with the local municipalities and getting all of the zoning in compliance and working with the bylaws, working on getting different variances and permits. So this is all in line with my current work as well as experience that I had in the past prior to joining my firm here. So I think that uniquely qualifies me to have some input, and I'm kind of a nerd when it comes to municipal law, and so it's something that I just find really fascinating. I'm always going to be looking into it.
Terrific. Well, a self-admitted nerd. That's awesome. You have 1 minute for a closing statement, Josh.
Thank you again for having me here. As I stated briefly in my opening statement, my family, we've been here for just a little over 4 years. We see how the town is changing. We love the energy, the ambiance that's here, and we notice, especially in this current market, that a lot of people are going to be coming towards our way. But I want to make sure that we maintain the aesthetic and the culture that we have here in Millis while also embracing these changes. So my hope as a sitting member of the planning board would be to make sure that we put our town on the right path to being able to facilitate some of this change while maintaining the characteristics that have really established and made this town what it is today. So thank you very much. I hope that, I'll see you all come May 9th.
Indeed. Thank you, Josh Guerrero, for joining our Candidate Profile series. And thank you for watching. We'll see you at the polls on May 9th. And of course, don't forget to attend town meeting on May 2nd at 7:30 p.m. at the high school.